Greetings all and welcome to Spooky or Nah. Today we're reading a post from Reddit. It's the subreddit True Scary Stories. Now this particular post was made by Whole Argument 9501. I haven't read it yet, obviously, so that way we can read it together and get genuine reactions and such. Kick back, relax while I read this story in the comments. Let me know what you think about it, if you think it's true, if you think it's not. But anyway, I'm going to read it. You guys sit back, listen, and I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, let's get into it. Oh, and also, follow my socials. Get onto that. I'll link them in the description. Thanks. I spoke to something in Costa Rica. Let me just start off by saying that I don't really believe in the supernatural. I don't watch those ghost hunting TV shows because I think they're full of bull. Anytime someone tells me a ghost story, I have doubts about it. However, I have one experience that I truly cannot explain. I have thought of many different possibilities, but nothing connects. Anyway, this happened when I visited my family in Costa Rica back in 2014. I was 12 at the time, and so was my cousin. Since we stayed at my cousin's house during most of our visit there, I slept in his room with him, and we would always stay up till about 2 or even 4 just messing around and playing video games. One night, we were laying in our beds, talking, and we got on the subject of demons. I told him I didn't really believe in them and I thought Ouija boards were stupid too. We keep talking about it, and eventually I get curious and ask him, why don't we try to talk to one? You may be asking, how would you talk to one if you don't have a Ouija board? Well, just as a joke, I said to the room, if anything is in here, knock on the wall 2 times. All of a sudden, I hear a knock on my cousin's side of the room. We both freak out, not knowing what the hell did that. So as we slip out of our bed sheets after hiding in them for like 5 or 10 minutes, I ask it another question. I don't remember what I asked it, but it was a yes or no question. 1 knock for no, and 2 knocks for yes. It answered my question. I kept hearing it on my cousin's side of the room. I started getting suspicious of the whole thing because my cousin could have been knocking on the wall. I tell my cousin to take his sheet off so I can see both his hands and his feet. He does what I say, so I ask this thing another question as I'm looking at my cousin's hands and feet. I hear the knock coming from his side of the room again. At this point, I'm confused, but also still suspicious. To make it even more impossible for my cousin to trick me, I ask the thing to knock on my side of the wall instead of my cousin's. To my surprise, it knocked on my side of the wall, which is literally on the other side of the room. I start asking this thing more questions, and things get even weirder. I hear knocks on the ceiling, in his closet, on the floor, just everywhere in that room. To this very day, I have no idea what caused this. I have asked everyone in my family if they pulled a prank on us, but no one knows what happened. Just recently, I put 2 and 2 together and realized that was the day that we went to the abandoned asylum up in the mountains of Costa Rica. It is the only conclusion that I can come up with, but if anyone else knows what this could be, please give some possible explanations. Well guys, there you have it. That was a bit of a short one, but very interesting nonetheless. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those things where you've really got to be there to experience it. I mean, obviously you could think it could be rodents or something in the walls, rats, stuff like that, but at the same time, I mean, it would be too much of a coincidence that every time he asked a question, there was a knock. You know, it would be too much of a coincidence for it to be animals, so I would, if what he's saying is true, then I would rule out animals. Let me know what you guys think in the comments anyway, because I'm interested as to what you might think it would be, because yeah, right now, I'm kind of having a bit of a brain fart. I really can't think of any explanation, because I said the animals, and then it could be like weather or something, like creaking house, but then as it was knocks as well, and then the knocks went from one side of the room to the other, then the wardrobe and the floor. I mean, that would be pretty hard for a family to do a prank, I suppose, in that sense, because, you know, they would have to quickly go from one side of the house to the other to knock on the opposite wall, and it would just be too difficult, so I would rule out a prank as well. I don't know what that could be. Obviously this story could be just fake, you know, that could be the explanation for it. That could be a logical explanation, but if I was this guy, I would be pretty creeped out too, because if that happened to me, I would probably be thinking it's probably too much of a coincidence to for it to be something natural or an animal or something. Every time you say it, that it knocks, and then it knocks there, knocks here. Every time you ask it something or whatever. I'm not saying that it was a ghost. I'm not saying it wasn't a ghost. There could be a perfectly logical explanation that I'm just not thinking of. Yeah, I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it isn't, but it's super interesting anyway. If there is an explanation, if there isn't, it's just, I love these stories because it gets you thinking, you know. Okay, this next story is called The Attic. It's in the subreddit True Scary Stories again. It was posted by u/u_wot_mv3_. Wow, that's a mouthful. Anyway guys, this is another story because we're here and I thought, why not read another one? So if you enjoyed the video so far, thank you for watching. Let's go have a read of this one. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. This did not happen to me, but to one of my good friends. He told me this story when we were sharing scary or unsettling things we've experienced. I believe that it's true. He was turning ghost white as he continued telling the story and was close to tears when he finished. For the sake of making the writing easier, I will write it from his perspective. I lived in a small bay town when I was younger. A town small enough to the point where everyone knows each other and any gossip would be consumed by the town in less than an hour. I had a friend who I will address as Jake, and we did everything together. There wasn't much to do in a small town, so we'd usually play video games all night and drink if we could find any alcohol. Jake always talked about how he'd hear strange noises in his house at night, especially when he was alone. His house was old, and apparently a murder had happened at that house, and other people died there due to other causes such as illness. Horror stories were common to keep children out of danger in small towns, or just for older kids to scare the young ones. I was 16 and Jake was 17 at the time. We had planned to stay up the entire night playing video games, eating snacks and drinking some beer. He had recently started talking more and more about odd things about his old house, but I brushed it off as him trying to scare me. Everything was normal when I walked to his house that night. We went into his bedroom, which was on the bottom floor of the house, and started our night. His parents were out, so we had the house to ourselves. About an hour in, I left his room to go use the bathroom. The bathroom was up a flight of stairs which opened to a hallway down the length of the house, with the bathroom being at the end of the hallway, and above it was the ceiling attic hatch. After using the bathroom, I noticed the ceiling hatch was open. I thought it was strange, so I went back to Jake's room and told him. Both of us went back and just stared at it, trying not to show the uneasiness that was tying a knot in our stomachs. We closed it, turned off the upstairs light at the bottom of the staircase, and went back into his room. An hour and a half later, Jake had to use the bathroom. Before leaving the room, he busted a joke about how the hatch was going to be open again, and as a joke in return, I said I'd walk upstairs with him to investigate. We turned the corner that led to the staircase, and the hair stood on our necks as we saw light shining down from upstairs. We looked up the stairs, seeing the wide open attic hatch. We slowly approached it, quickly closed it, and ran down the stairs as fast as we could back into Jake's room, slamming the door shut and locking it. Neither of us had the stomach or bravery to hide our fear at that point. We were so paranoid that we slept in the same bed. We didn't hear any noises as we tried to sleep, but eventually I managed to drift off. Falling asleep, I woke and found myself in a dream. The world was black and white. I realized I was in Jake's room, and it felt so realistic that I did not even notice I was dreaming at first. I got up from the bed, and something drove my body over to the window. Between two hedges, which had previously not been there, a lady in a wedding dress stood below an arch that was overgrown with dead vines. She turned around and saw me, and started to smile. At first it was not too creepy, but then her smile started getting wider and wider until it reached both of her ears. A ringing filled my ears as she started laughing. Something started scratching at the door that was to my back, but no matter how hard I tried, my eyes were locked on the lady in the dress. I could not move and was paralyzed with fear. At that moment I woke up, but I was on the couch in Jake's room, and not on his bed. His eyes were wide when he saw I was awake and asked if I was up any time during the night. Confused, I told him no. He then told me that in the middle of the night I got out of bed and stared out of the window with a wide grin on my face. He explained that after that I left the room and he heard a large thump. Then I came back into the room and fell asleep on the couch. Once we cleaned up and left his room, our curiosity bested us and we decided to look up the stairs, only to see that the light was on and the attic hatch was wide open. Wow, that was a really cool story. True or not, that was super interesting. I really got, drawn into that. I hope you guys did too. That was a lot of fun to read. Super creepy. I mean, that could definitely be true. I mean, I don't really have a lot of doubt over this story. I'm not saying that it's a paranormal influence or whatever. I'm just saying that this definitely could have happened, whether it was paranormal or not. Because let's talk about the not paranormal side of things, because obviously the paranormal side of things kind of explains itself. But the non-paranormal explanation would be it actually was a dream. He could have been sleepwalking. Because his mind is playing this in his head, so as he's sleepwalking, that could have all very much happened. He could have been in an altered state of consciousness, perhaps half asleep, half awake while he was sleepwalking, and his dream was, he was like acting out his dream. As for the upstairs attic situation, I mean, I suppose the attic door could open itself. I mean, in Australia we don't have attics, so I don't know how that really works, but however the hatch, however it clips on, maybe it kept opening itself. As for the light, not quite sure. The light could be turning itself on. I mean, I don't think really lights really turn themselves on, but they did say that they were having some beers, so it could have got to the point where they had quite a few beers, and maybe they were going upstairs to the bathroom more than they realized, and maybe they just left the light on, and when they come back they kind of sobered up a bit and go back upstairs and they just don't remember turning the light on. So it could be one of those things. I think everything in this story has an explanation. I think I can explain it. I think a lot of you guys probably could as well, but at the same time it's still really spooky, even if it's not something ghosty or paranormal, supernatural or whatever. It's still a creepy story. I mean, you can imagine yourself being in your friend's room and you wake up in the middle of the night and they're just staring out a window, smiling, like a big grin on their face. I mean, that would be terrifying. Like, I'd be like, are you okay? I'd be like, what is going on right now? Still a super spooky story, whatever the explanation is. I mean, either way, whatever the explanation, it's creepy, really creepy. Glad we read that one together. That was cool. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification so you can find out when my new videos come out. Please like, comment, share, check out my socials. I put the links in the description, so that way you can message me your video ideas, your scary stories and stuff, so that I can put them in a video one day, which would be really cool. Alright guys, that's it for that one. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for watching my videos, for subscribing. It's just, we're growing so fast and I cannot believe it. It's blowing my mind. Until the next one, keep it spooky. Can you feel it?